most recently, I've been trying to live an integrative stance in the classroom and help the students cultivate the opposable mind by using text, not so that we understand the text in and of itself, but so that we can understand how different people have reacted to a text. So a specific example of that is we were creating a social justice songbook. That's what ended up happening. I didn't know we were creating it, but that's actually what ended up happening. And students, we started with the song White Privilege, and then we took a look at that song by Macklemore and tried to ask ourselves questions about what was the purpose of the song and how was it received in the public. And some people in the public loved the song and they thought it was a human rights song. And some people criticized the song because it was a white person talking about white privilege and making money off of it. And this is a complex question to grapple with. And so we didn't want to solve that tension. We just wanted to understand the tension of that more deeply, especially connecting to human rights. And at the end of the day, as the students went out and found their own songs that had this tension in it of attempting to send a human rights message, however, perhaps being clumsy about it or having positive versus negative reactions to the song, at the end of the day, what students started to create was an understanding of how do I communicate a human rights message to the world using the arts in a way that is responsible and powerful. And it was really neat because this all began as normally I would give a poem in class and let's try to understand the poem, let's understand the song. But when you're playing with tensions, what you end up doing is creating something completely new out of it. And the students were able to walk away articulating, if I was going to create a human rights song, what would I have to understand about my own privilege, my own position, about what's a responsible way to share the message, what's a powerful way, what words are powerful to use. So I don't know, it connects so beautifully to everything in the English curriculum, but also it connects to deep learning and building a more empathetic culture. I really cared about being a good English teacher. I really cared about that, and I cared about helping students write better, and I cared a lot about engaging students in interesting reading. So I cared about there being a spark in the classroom. But I definitely think I was in a box definitely about what English was and what it meant to be an English teacher. And although I know my students were engaging in critical thinking, I think it was plotted critical thinking. Like I plotted it, I organized it, I chose the text, I showed them how to think about it, and then although they were thinking critically, they were really just mimicking what I was demonstrating in class. And going to the integrative thinking training through Rotman, I realized that I was not creating a new model of learning at all. I was asking students to replicate my model of learning, and I wasn't satisfied with that. It's not that everything that I was doing in the past was inside of a box, so there's always elements of teaching that you want to keep using. Things like giving really good feedback to students. That's not something that I would get rid of. However, if I was going to use a text so that the student could demonstrate that they could think about that text alone, I am not satisfied with that type of thinking anymore. I realize that students are capable of so much more in terms of making connections, and it is important that students take what they're learning from a text and that those become provocations for inquiry and deeper learning and making connections to the world as a whole. So no, I'm not satisfied with simply studying a text as though it's a text. I joke that my ultimate goal is world peace, but my ultimate goal is world peace. I really believe as an educator that it's my job to help students know themselves first, and then understand that there are so many different people in the world with so many different amazing perspectives that are worth knowing and understanding. And that the English curriculum allows that to happen so beautifully in class because there's so much metacognition and reflection embedded in the curriculum. And then these tools are here, and these tools allow students not just to demonstrate the English curriculum expectations, but to really dive deeply into problems and tensions. And when we can see these problems and tensions as opportunities to create something that has never existed before, I find that really exciting and I feel hopeful. So I guess another goal that I have as an educator is to instill hope in the students. And I I believe that these tools give students the confidence and hope that there is a better model out there and that they can engage in complexity and come out the other end with a great answer. Critical thinking is always embedded in an English classroom because critical literacy is one of our expectations, and to me the one that is most near and dear to my heart. So whenever we're doing an integrative thinking task or using the tools, you can't help but exercise your ability to critically think about the information you have in front of you and reflect on how you yourself are interpreting the information. So that's the first one. But also citizenship is something that I notice more and more is working its way authentically into the classroom. Because the English curriculum expectations are about skills of communication and reading and writing, I realize that more and more, for students to care about improving those skills, it has to be that they're reading about and writing about things that they care about. And what they care about are things that are happening in the world that matter to them. And so you can't help but build citizenship when you're engaging in authentic tasks in the classroom. I've tried to construct the classroom as a think tank. And we began by looking at the NPDL progression on collaboration and doing a primary self-assessment. What does collaboration mean to me? And when I look at the progressions, what do I notice that I do with collaboration? And every time we take on an integrative thinking task, we get to practice moving up the progression. So it's such a good tool to reflect on where you are now and then engage in a collaborative assignment, and then afterwards reflect, where have I moved? What did I do? What was missing? And the next time we collaborate, what could I do next? As an English teacher, I mean, traditionally I've always thought about it my job to teach literature in the classroom, but I'm so lucky as an English teacher that my curriculum is asking for students to demonstrate oral communication and listening skills. And listening skills is one of the areas that we've often as English teachers shrugged our shoulders about how do we evaluate and assess listening skills. And doing integrative thinking tasks allows you to monitor and assess and then give feedback on students, not only their ability to communicate their ideas clearly, but to listen to each other. And you can tell they're listening because they'll build on each other's ideas. So that's one way that you can connect an integrative thinking task so easily to the curriculum.